Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Cordon, the place where every cricketer wants to be. I'm your host, Callum, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the podcast. We have a special episode today as we are previewing the ICC Champions Trophy, which kickstarts this weekend on Saturday, to be specific, between Pakistan, the host nation, and New Zealand. So it's going to be a really exciting one-day tournament. It's an ICC tournament which hasn't been around since 2017, and it's being brought back this year with the top 8 teams from the ICC World Cup back in 2023 getting automatic qualification into this tournament. And joining me to discuss all the major talking points in the lead up to this tournament is Katrik. Katrik, thanks for joining us on the podcast again, mate.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again. So we've got 8 teams that we need to preview straight away, and let's not waste any time with Afghanistan. I think I'm actually pretty bullish on Afghanistan. I liked what I saw from them in the 2023 World Cup in India. They've had a number of players who have experienced these particular conditions through playing PSL, and it's obviously very similar to, the native home conditions, even though they technically don't really get to play at home too much, but they do play a lot in the UAE. So I think I'm pretty bullish on Afghanistan. The only thing that will be interesting for me is how successful Rashid Khan is. Obviously, with a little bit more time in 50 over cricket, teams can afford to sit on him and, sort of nudge him around the field for maybe 5 to 5.5 runs per over, rather than, trying to target someone like him looking for that 60 or 70. Because we have seen in Pakistan that there have been quite high scores in one-day cricket over the last couple of years. So overall, what are your thoughts on Afghanistan? Can they cause a few upsets in the tournament?
Not really upsets. I think it's a very strong team. If you look at how they performed in the recent T20 World Cup and even the 50 over World Cup in 2023, they were in contention. And I think they're just going to make their case much more stronger walking into this Champions Trophy. Familiar sort of wickets for them. They played in Pakistan. It was their sort of adopted home before India. So they know the wickets, they know the conditions, they know the people there. So very similar to back home in Afghanistan. So yeah, I'm sure that team is something which isn't a weak team or like an underdog by any chance. So it's a strong team. It can do whatever it wants to achieve on their day. Very bold in how they approach their cricket. So yeah, it will be a strong competition.
I think we talk about Afghanistan being noticeable for the strong spin lineup, with Mujib not playing in this tournament, but previously Mujib and Rashid Khan and Normad Ahmad has been extremely impressive in IPL for the Gujarat Titans the last couple of years in partnership with Rashid Khan. So he's someone that I think will be a genuine threat and wicket taker throughout this tournament. You look at Gabaz at the top of the order. I think he's a sensational talent for Afghanistan cricket. So I like them a lot, but I'm interested to see how they go. Hopefully their past performances in ICC tournaments will hold them in really good stead going forward. So we'll give our top 4 at the end of the video, and we'll see how we potentially rank Afghanistan. Let's move on to Australia. Now, we didn't do a ODI wrap-up for that little 2-game series. We didn't think it was really worth doing it, but we will touch on Australia a lot in this video. Sri Lanka played some bloody good cricket in those 2 games, and I thought Australia were extremely poor, particularly with the bat. Obviously, Australia has been decimated by injuries and retirement, so there's no Mitchell Marsh, no Marcus Stoinis now, no Pat Cummins, no Josh Hazlewood, and no Mitchell Starc. So the big 3 frontline quicks are not playing for Australia. That's a massive blow. And I think that's going to hurt their chances of winning this tournament significantly. And I think it's going to hurt their chances of potentially even making, semi-finals and playoffs in this tournament. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on, Adam Zampa, and I think teams will look to target Adam Zampa now. The fact that he's the main sort of cog of that bowling lineup, that's still there. we'll see the likes of Spencer Johnson, Sean Abbott, Nathan Ellis, potentially Ben Dorshus playing as well. I don't see them playing Tanvir Sanger really throughout this tournament, considering you've got Maxwell and Travis Head who can spin the ball the other way compared to Zampa. And I just don't think it looks a very settled lineup. If they were playing in slightly more westernized conditions, I guess, not the subcontinent, I'd give them a better chance. But based on what I saw in that Sri Lanka series, it wasn't very convincing. And obviously with the number of changes in their team over a short period of time, I'm not very bullish on what they can do in this tournament, which is a shame. But I think it could be a blessing for Australian cricket in disguise with, Cummins, Stark, Hazlewood all getting older. You think Cummins would play the 2027 World Cup in South Africa, Zimbabwe, definitely. But those other two in Stark and Hazlewood, I'm not sure whether they can, get to that tournament properly. So what do you think on Australia? Are you more bullish on Australia, or you like me when you have a few concerns?
I mean, that's what we thought in the 2023 50 over World Cup as well. Australia didn't start well. We were questioning the kind of players they had, but they ended up winning the tournament. So you can never write off Australia there. But looking at this squad, it's definitely looked very weak. Apart from 4 or 5 big names, there's nothing there. Steve Smith, Travis Head, Alex Carey, Glenn Maxwell. Let's say out of these 4, if none score runs, it's going to be very difficult for the likes of Inglis and other youngsters, to pitch in and score some runs. And that was the result in Sri Lanka as well. Very weak batting lineup there. Bowling is already weak. Your top 3 bowlers are out. So looking very, very lean. And with the all-rounders, Stoinis and Mitchell Marsh not available, retired and injured. So that's again a blow for them. So looks very weak, on paper, but you never know what sort of leadership Smith can come up with. These are all very talented players. They've done well in the domestic cricket and in BBL, so they can do anything on their day. But if other team had to put pressure on their target players like Steven Smith, Travis Head, or Adam Zampa, if teams come up with a strategy to target these 3, there's nothing left in that side. So yeah, it'll be good challenge for the coaches and for the leader, Steve Smith here.
Yeah, I think if Australia, somehow managed to get to the semi-finals, it's going to be a great result. I don't think anyone's in Australia is expecting them to win the tournament, to be honest. But if I think they can get to the last 4, I think that's a very good result. Let's move on to the next team, which is Bangladesh. And unfortunately, I don't expect too much from Bangladesh in this particular tournament. They've been relatively poor in ICC events for the last little while. No Shakib Al Hassan is a big loss for them. Obviously, a lot of experience with him. And Shanto is captain. I think he's relatively inexperienced as captain so far. You've got the likes of Rahim, who are still going around. Mahmudullah, it's probably his last major tournament. But Mahedi Hassan I think he's a really good talent for Bangladesh. The right arm off spinner. He'll bowl very economically through the middle overs. But yeah, other than Tuscan and Mustafiza Rahman, I think their bowling attack's lacking. Those 2 seamers are very good on their day, and I've been super impressed with Tuscan Ahmed for a number of years now. Doesn't exactly get the recognition he deserves, hasn't gone on to play big T20 tournaments or anything like that, but he's always been a very solid citizen for his country. So where would you anticipate Bangladesh finishing in this tournament?
Yeah, I doubt they would win more than a game here. Again, looks very weak. There are few experienced players here and there, but the kind of leadership hasn't been seen from the Bangladesh side. The mid-star player was Shakib Al Hassan, but he's been reported for the suspect action, so he's out. So yeah, I don't see them doing any sort of magic here in this sort of tournament as well. They haven't really lifted their game up as compared to what Afghanistan has done in the recent past. So that's something they'll have to take it seriously if they want to progress in in international cricket because Sri Lanka is picking up their white ball game, which they have seen in the recent past. Last few ODI series have been really good for them. Like they defeated Australia, India, and unfortunately Sri Lanka not here, and Bangladesh making the cut. So I think it's a last opportunity for Bangladesh to do something without Shakib Al Hasan and with the young talent. So we'll see the future of Bangladesh cricket here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not very bullish on Bangladesh, as you sort of touched on. So, yeah, with Sri Lanka not being here, I think Bangladesh is very lucky to be here. But that's what happens when, you have a poor ICC tournament. And, if we're talking about notable absences from this tournament, the West Indies are not here as well. And that's just such a shame for world cricket as well. Let's move on to the English. Now, they were absolutely decimated by India in the recent ODI series and outperformed in that T20 series. But if we're specifically looking at the ODI series, I just think they tried to play too aggressive in this particular series. They weren't, fully getting themselves in. They were trying to play that Bazball type sort of stuff, but that has made them successful in ODI cricket. If we look between the sort of period of end of 2015 and sort of 2020, when they were definitely the best white ball team, ODI team in the world by a long way. And you look through their squad and they've got some absolute talent. You've got the likes of Butler, Banton, Brook, Duckett. Joe Root has been batting at number 3. I thought he was pretty good in that series, especially brought back into the ODI lineup in preparation for the Champions Trophy. Salt and Jamie Smith, very good keeper batsmen. Then you've got Cass, Livingston, Jamie Overton, Jacob Bethel has been withdrawn. And then you've got a very good seam bowling attack in Jofra Archer, Atkinson, Mahmood, Mark Wood. But once again, a lot of emphasis is being left on the shoulders of Adil Rashid as the sole proper spinner. I know Livingston will bowl overs, but Rashid has carried, the spin duties of this team for such a long time. So it's a big, big ask for him. I would be, despite what's happened in India, I'd be more bullish on England than I would be Australia at this point in time. But what are your thoughts?
See, in the Indian series as well, the team looked very experimental. It never looked settled, with their playing 11 and with the strategy they were going ahead, chasing these targets. It looked very unsettled. The leadership really wasn't clear in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Uh, so looked very, very one-sided when they were facing India, and India again wasn't there up to the mark as well. When you compare to the bowling and even like Rohit Sharma clicking in one of the games, Virat Kohli clicking in one of the games. But India is not the same India how it was in 2023 without Bumrah there and Shami also just playing a game or two. So again, they were really challenged in India and they struggled. And it's the similar sort of wickets they will see in Pakistan and UAE as well if they play there. So yeah, as you said, Adil Rashid, he will be the man to watch for with the spinning department. But any team can just play him safe, and they still have 40 overs left. The good part was Jofra Archer steaming in 150 plus. Same with Mark Wood. So if they can challenge the sides, with their quick speed. So yeah, that's something it's good to watch for. Few all rounders. Cars is something I think it was the pick of the all rounders there. Good with the ball, can throw in the bat if required. But Livingston was a bit of a disappointment in the Indian series. And Livingston, Phil Salt, Harry Brook, they have to come with some sort of consistency if they have to win this tournament.
Let's move on to probably the team that you and I disagree on the most, and that's going to be India. For me, I believe India have a massive advantage in this tournament, and I don't want to make this very political, but I think it's quite poor that they're not traveling to Pakistan, considering Pakistan, went to India in 2023 for the World Cup. And I think it obviously shows how much control India has in world cricket. And once again, don't want to make this political, but I think it is quite poor that they are not willing to travel. I know that they have their reasons and all that, and now in future tournaments that are to be held in India and Pakistan, each country will not travel into the other, and they'll get to play their home games in another country. I believe Sri Lanka will host all of Pakistan's game for the T20 World Cup, which is happening next year. But for me, not having to travel around Pakistan and just staying in Dubai, massive advantage for India, in my opinion. They'll get used to the conditions. If there's the final, it won't get to be played in Pakistan if India make it, which I think it's a real shame, but it is what it is. Once again, we saw players who had been previously out of form starting to click in that ODI series. Great to see Drought Sharma back amongst the runs. It's probably his last opportunity for India in white ball cricket. You would think he's probably done at the end of this tournament. Who knows what's going to happen to him in Test cricket? You think he's probably done there as well. But Kohli getting amongst the runs, Shubman Gill in fantastic form, Shreyas Iyer amongst the runs, someone who's been a little bit forgotten in the last couple of years due to some injury concerns that he's had, but a top quality player when he is fit and available. Then you've got the spin trio or quartet, I think. You've got Jadeja, Axar Patel, Chakravorty and Kuldeep Yadav. So there's 4 high-quality spinners that they could do. The wickets will probably turn a little bit more in Dubai compared to in Pakistan. But I think it's great to see that KL Rahul is getting an opportunity with the clubs. I think he's been fantastic for India and white ball cricket over the last couple of years. But Kartik, what are your thoughts on India? Because we have a difference of opinions on this one.
Yeah, without Bumrah, this team is definitely not looking the same how it was in the 2023 World Cup. Shami is not the same. Shami, after the injury, he's still taking his time to get into the mix of the things. Arshdeep, yes, but on UAE wickets, what magic he can do, that'll be tough to see. Spinning, yeah. So talking about UAE as well, I think these wickets are used wickets. Like they've played few tournaments recently there, and these are not fresh wickets there. So it'll be interesting to see how these wickets play up. I think it will be slow, very slow on the slower side. And Indian side would be more spin heavy as compared to seamers. So you've got your one seamer already there, Hardik Pandya. They might play just one more, either Arshdeep or Shami, depending on how both can fit in, because Shami or Harshit Rana or Arshdeep, they all 3 can't really bat. So if you compare the spinners, Akshar, Jadeja, Washington Sundar, all have some sort of a bit of batting talent there, so they can bat. So selecting the playing 11 would be critical here. Looking at the coach Gautam Gambhir and his favorites in the side, Harshit Rana, Varun Chakravarti. Will Chakravarti play ahead of the likes of Jadeja or Akshar Patel or Kuldeep? That's something we'll have to wait and see. And these sort of things, which if there is a conflict between the coach and the captain or the playing 11, it can just set the tone off for everyone. And I think these sort of back end stories or the back office stories that we are hearing, how Gambhir is more focusing on getting his players, because he was in KKR, he was a mentor of KKR, and he brought in these guys, Chakravarti, Harshit Rana, Shreyas Iyer. So that's been his focus throughout. So this kind of favoritism is something, which wasn't there in Indian team in the recent past, has now come up quite bold and strong. And I think, this is going to affect the overall morale and the overall talks in the dressing room there.
Yeah, we've made a lot of Gambhir's sort of first 6 months in charge of this Indian side, and he seems to be more of an authoritarian sort of style of coach. It's his way or the highway, whereas, if we're looking at Australia with Andrew McDonald and Pat Cummins, it's very like hands off, relax. It's more of a group decision mentality, whereas Gambhir, if he wants something, He's going to fight pretty hard to get it. But yeah, I'm very bullish on India in this tournament, despite the fact that there's no Jasprit Bumrah. Sure, Bumrah's going to leave a massive hole. He's the best bowler in the world in every single format. But I just think there's enough talent in this Indian lineup to get the job done, particularly if they bat well and if Sharma and Kohli can get runs and Shubman Gill the top of the order. I think that's massive for India, and they've just got class throughout their lineup. As we've sort of said on many occasions, their depth is just spectacular. Let's move on to New Zealand, the Kiwis. I think that their squad's not looking too bad. I'm just not sure what we're gonna get from them. You look at the likes of Conway, Kane Williams, and Tom Latham, and then if you look at the bowling department, it's Mitchell Santner, Michael Bracewell, Glenn Phillips, potentially Rachin Ravindra. The fast bowling attack, a lot's going to rely on Lockie Ferguson and Matt Henry. So yeah, I'm not really sure how they're going to go. I think they're in the first group, so they'll be playing against the likes of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So if they can pinch a game against Pakistan or India, I think that's going to be massive for their chances of making the top four.
Yeah, so as New Zealand has always done it, semi-finalists, that's their tag, and that's what they will live up to. They will qualify for the semi-finals. Pakistan's not looking as strong as the side, so India and New Zealand from that group, I think, will be the fourth runners, and New Zealand has done that in so many international ICC tournaments, making the semi-final, be happy with that, go home. That sort of thing we may see. Finals, yeah, you never know on their day if they perform well. They might reach another 50 over finals. So let's see. It'll be interesting. But good side. It's one of those teams, underdogs, very silent, do their work, show the results, somehow reach the semi-final every tournament. So yeah, let's see how they perform.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a change in the guard in terms of some of the ICC tournaments that they've been involved with in the past. It's their first one really without Trent Bolt and without Tim Southee for the first time. So, as I said, a lot of emphasis on Matt Henry and Lockie Ferguson. Will O'Rourke's, a good talent in New Zealand cricket, and he's played a few test matches. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go. Mitchell Santner, captain. It's not Kane Williamson, which I know I find it a bit strange. I don't think he's necessarily a set person in their team, but he has been relatively successful of late. Let's talk about the host nation now in Pakistan. Pakistan is one of my favorite teams in world cricket, just simply because you don't know what you're going to get. And that's what makes cricket with Pakistan exciting. Mohammad Rizwan is the captain. Obviously, Babar Azam is a high-quality player with Fakhar Zaman as well at the top of the order. But it's just more the bowling. They have talent. It's no doubt that Pakistan fast bowling has talent, but Shaheen Shah Afridi has not been very consistent over the last 18 months. Naseem Shah is a high-quality player, but very injury-prone. Harris Ralph is very capable. What a series he had in Australia about 3 or 4 months ago now, at the beginning of November. So he's capable of breaking a game open. And I suppose in terms of just out-and-out spinners, they've gone with Abrar Ahmed, who is a bit of a mystery spinner, got a lot of talent, but is he strong enough to sort of be the core spinner of this particular team? I don't know. They've got a lot of good all-rounders who I think can complement their top order bats and, chip in with a few overs in the middle. I would love Pakistan to make the final in their home country, but will the weight of expectation of playing at home play on their minds a bit too much?
Yeah, they haven't done well in their home conditions in the recent past. Like if you compare this New Zealand series, or the previous series they have played against good teams like South Africa, Australia, England, they haven't really challenged those sides. So as you pointed out, the fast bowlers, yes, they are all three great bowlers, but are they match winners on their day? Will because Pakistan's very heavily relying on these three. Spinning is something which we haven't seen a great spinner coming into the side after Saeed Ajmal or the likes of Mushtaq Ahmed, Saqlain Mushtaq. These kind of players were the main strength of Pakistan bowling department. And after that, we haven't really seen any big impact from the spinning department, and that's the void here. Batting as well, Babar Azam has been in a poor form, not just in this format, but in all the formats. So he's their star player, a lot of expectations and haven't been delivering it. Rizwan is among the runs, the all-rounder. I think Salman, he's amongst the runs and with his good fielding as well. So I think they'll be under tremendous pressure. If they win the first game, they have their chances. If not, I don't see them winning anything apart from the Bangladesh game.
I think if they managed to get over the top of India, that would be massive for their chances. If they were able to get over India, that would give the group massive confidence. You're definitely going to have to win minimum 2 games to be able to qualify, and then depending on how other results go, because you only play 3 pool games before it goes straight into finals. So it's a very quick tournament. So the tournament's going to be over in about 3 weeks, I think, which is, about half the length of a regular ICC tournament that we saw with the World Cup, particularly in 2023. So I would love Pakistan to do well at home. I think their cricket, when they're playing at their best, it's exciting. But we have seen on many occasions the 2022 game against India at the MCG is one that comes to mind. They can succumb to the pressure very quickly. We saw Virat Kohli hit, I think, 35 off the last 2 overs to get them over the line in that game. What a tremendous game of cricket that was. But let's see how Pakistan go. I think if they win India, it's going to be massive for them. But they do play the first game of the tournament against New Zealand, and they have played against New Zealand in a tri-series final as well. So they do have a bit of experience against New Zealand in recent memory. Let's look at our final team, which is South Africa. South Africa, for me, is the wild card. I think they probably look the most complete side, I'd say, of the group that has Australia, England, and Afghanistan. I think they're probably the most complete side. Good top order batsman, Temba Bavuma, good middle order players in Rickleton and David Miller. Heinrich Klaasen is one of the hottest white ball batters in the world at the moment. Tristan Stubbs, Russie van der Dussen. If you look at the all-rounder section, this is where it's got some serious talent. Corbin Bosch, who has impressed in Test cricket recently. Marco Jansen, very, very good overseas left arm quick bowler. Aiden Markram will bat in the top 3 or 4 and then bowl some off spin. And then you've got Keship Maharaj, who will bowl great left arm orthodox spin. Ngidi, Rabada, Tabraiz Shamsi with his left arm leg spin. Unfortunately, Anrek Nortje is not going to be playing this tournament. So I feel like there's a big emphasis on Rabada and Marco Jansen in this tournament, along with, the 2 spinners in Shamsi and Maharaj. If South Africa can post, somewhere around 300 in most of their games, 280 to 320 in most of their games, I think they're going to be very hard to stop. But once again, South Africa unfortunately have the sort of chokers tag in ICC tournaments. But I think I'm pretty confident that they're going to make the semi-finals. I think they look the most complete out of the group that we've just talked about.
Yes, 100%. I think they've got their mojo back in the side after a few recent choking performances in the ICC tournaments. They reached the finals and they choked again, in the T20 World Cup. But at least they reached the finals after, I don't know, maybe for the first time they did. So in any ICC tournament. So yeah, that side is something. Yeah, it can score a big target. It can chase big targets. It can defend low scores. So it's a team to watch out for. It has got the bowling strength. Look at the fast bowlers, Rabada, Janssen. I think Lungi Giri has been ruled out, if I'm not sure, but if he's playing, he's another strength there. Klaasen is someone to watch out for. He's, as you said, he's in red hot form in all the formats. He can just change the games within those 5-6 overs. So he's someone to watch out for. He's the best white ball cricketer in terms of scoring at that pace in the world right now. Pavuma, he was someone people question, but he's been in some sort of form recently, and he's been leading the side well. So spinners aren't bad either. Maharaj and Shamsi and one of the all-rounders. So they can pose a serious threat to any side on their day. It's all about how they manage the pressure. I definitely see them making the semi-final or the final. And it's all about the leadership, how they manage the pressure and how calm they are just to achieve their targets and lifting the cup.
I think one thing that hasn't really been talked about is Quinton de Kock's not playing one-day international cricket anymore. I think he's a massive loss at the top of the order. Like, obviously, he's a very good wicketkeeper, but I think his presence at the top of the order and his aura at the top of the order is something that South Africa will miss. Dusuri is a relatively new opener for South Africa in white ball cricket, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He's been playing in the test side for the last 12 months or so. But yeah, I'm pretty bullish on South Africa and what they can achieve in this tournament. Let's go to some predictions as we sort of look to wrap up our video today. Kartik, I will ask you for your top four, considering that only the top two from each group make their way into the semi-finals.
Yep. So from Group A, I would say India and New Zealand. And from Group B, for me, it's South Africa and Australia.
Okay. I'll go slightly different to you. I definitely think India will make it. I think they're the best team in Group A at the moment. I'm going to go with Pakistan at home. It'll be interesting to see whether the sort of the politics that's been around this tournament affects them in any particular way. So I'll go India and Pakistan, Group A. Group B, I'm going to go South Africa, and I'm going to go England. I'm not confident when I say England, but at the same time, I think Australia is going to really feel the loss of those three fast bowlers. And they just provide so much experience. Like, Steve Smith will be captain. I think that will hold them in some good stead. But the loss of Cummins, I think, and Cummins and Stark in particular, I think is the big one. If Stark was playing, I'd give them maybe some sort of chance to make the semis. But I think if Australia somehow managed to beat England and Afghanistan and make their way into the semi-finals, I think that's a great result for Australia with the injuries that have clouded the team in the last couple of weeks. Let's look at top wicket taker for the tournament. Any particular players stand out for you, Kartik?
I was a fast bowler. I love fast bowling, so I would say Rabada.
Okay. I think, yeah, I was thinking someone South Africa, but I gotta go someone different. I would say I'll go Jofra Archer. I think Jofra, it's a quick tournament. I think he'll be able to get through those three games relatively quickly, and manage himself through those three games. I think bowling over 150 kilometres an hour, I think that's a massive bonus for England. Top run scorer for the tournament as well.
Me, I would say Shubman Gill.
Yeah, Shubman Gill probably would have been my choice considering his recent form, but I'm going to go with Heinrich Klaassen from South Africa as leading run scorer for this particular tournament. He's been in sensational form in white ball cricket, particularly for the last sort of 3 years. It was a shock when he got picked up by Hyderabad for nearly 6 crore, but it's one of the best 6 crore that Hyderabad's ever spent, I reckon. So, in a great amount of form. Let's see how the tournament goes. So, thank you so much, Kartik, for your time on the podcast today. Great to get your insights about the Champions Trophy.
Likewise, Mike. Thank you. One question before you leave. Who will keep the wickets for India?
KL Rahul. I think
Rishabh Pant sitting out?
I think Rishad Pant sitting out. KL Rahul's been doing it for a number of years now. KL Rahul's been doing it for a number of years, did it in the 2023 World Cup, and I think his form's been pretty good overall, so I wouldn't be changing anything despite Rishad being a very star player for India. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Good question. Thank you so much to those of you who are watching in the Cordon at home. Please ensure that you subscribe to all of our social media pages and wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you on our next episode. Cheers.